Boxing Truth here, back with another video. Eddie Hearn smoking that good shit. Let's talk about Eddie Hearn. He says he's the only one that can do it. The only one that can do the impossible. That no promoter has ever been able to do since the existence of this boxing game. Which was, people go back to John L. Sullivan for when the fight game really started. That's what, 1882? I forgot. 1880, 18 something. But since that time, no promoter's been able to pull it off, to have that one universe, that one model that Eddie Hearn says that the UFC currently has. And it's the right model. Eddie Hearn said a lot of things in that interview that I disagree with. That he's the only one that can do it. That he can take over the game. I mean, that's every powerful promoter's dream, isn't it? Al Heyman tried to do it. Don King tried to do it. Frankie Carbo tried to do it. Some other big players with a lot of cash tried to do it. Jay-Z threw his hat in. 50 Cent threw his hat in. It's not as easy as it seems. Just because you got a lot of money, a lot of dough thrown around, doesn't mean you're going to take over the game. Just because you got the biggest star in your stable, or one of the biggest stars, doesn't mean you're going to take over the game. So, all those names that I mentioned, Tex Ricker couldn't do it. Frankie Carbo couldn't do it. Al Heyman couldn't do it. Bob Arum couldn't do it. Don King couldn't do it. You know? All the powerful cats in this game. You really think Top Rank is just gonna just lay down and allow Eddie Hearn to take over the game? The same goes for Al Heyman and Frank Warren and Golden Boy. They all have strong pieces on the chessboard. They all have a say in who's going to be a player in this game. So, Eddie Hearn smoking that good shit. Look, it ain't gonna happen, alright? No one's gonna take over the boxing game. There's just too many entities. That's what makes boxing so great. It's the only sport in the world that's not controlled by one entity. It's the wild, wild west. You know, in the NBA, NFL, they can force the best teams to play each other because it's all under one entity. Boxing is the wild west. You issue a challenge to somebody, either they accept it or they don't. And instead of being called yellow, a fighter would be called a ducker and a cherry picker for avoiding a top challenge. But that's just how boxing works, man. It's always been like that. And it's going to continue like that. You're going to have different players. You're going to have entrepreneurs. You're going to have ambitious guys throwing their hat into the game and try to make some noise. So I'm betting against Eddie Hearn. I don't think he could do it. No one else has been able to. And from what I see, with his venture with the Zone, with his new company in America, is he really moving the needle? With some of the shows that he's put on? He's put on some good fights. He signed some good fighters, big name fighters. It's going to take more than that, brother. It's going to take more than the Zone bag to take over the game. The thing about boxing is an ethnic sport, man. You can't control every fighter. There's too many fighters out there, especially, you know, how ethnic boxing really is. It's just what it is, man. You know, the Spanish fighters are going to stay loyal to the Spanish promoters, like Golden Boy and others. You know, the black fighters, they're going to stay loyal to Al Heyman. Some of them are, you know. Some fighters are going to stay loyal to Top Rank and Bob Arum. They're not going to leave them. Because all of them have strong points of whether to join them or not. All of them have their perks, their upsides. They can offer you something, especially if you're a heavyweight, big time promoter out there. Well, that's why it's never going to happen, man. There's never going to be a sole entity in boxing. People say that it works for the UFC. Yeah, maybe they're more popular in terms of ratings. So why are the fighters getting paid bullshit? You know what I'm saying? Masvidal versus Usman does 1 million pay-per-view buys in ESPN Plus, and Masvidal's purse is nowhere near what a fighter should get when they're generating that type of pay-per-view revenue. You do 1 million buys, a fighter should be getting 20, 30 million tops. Not no flat fee of 2, 3, 4, 5 million of what UFC fighters get, the top stars. That's what they get. They negotiate a contract with Dana White. Dana White pays you accordingly to what is in the contract. It doesn't matter how hard the opponent, how big the name of the opponent is, you're going to get a flat fee. That's what you're going to get until you fight out the contract. That's why you have so many issues with some big name fighters in the UFC going against the grain and holding out for better deals. Boxing is what it is, man. It's fractured, it's separate, but the beauty thing about it, the fighters are not under control under one sole promoter. They can go somewhere else. They have other opportunities. They could negotiate for better deals. That's what makes the sport great, man. Because it remains the Wild West. Anybody can get into the game, and there's no one that controls it. No one that has full power. At least not yet. Hasn't happened. Eddie was trying to bring that DAZN bread, make everybody nervous. But now they slowed down, and they got to recoup what they've lost, now that they're back in business starting next week. But it ain't gonna happen, bruh. You're not gonna take over the game. It's not going to happen. You will fail at it. But you will remain a player, man. You'll stay afloat. There's some fighters that like your style, and there's other fighters that are not comfortable with your style. They don't want you to be their mouthpiece. They don't want this outgoing promoter. They'd rather have a guy that's all business. Some fighters just not comfortable having Eddie Hearn as their promoter, and that's what it's always going to be. Some fighters just want to be where they want to be. They want to stay loyal to a certain promoter. Ethnic backgrounds has something to do with it. And that's the boxing game. It'll stay as is. The fights can happen, you know. It's just you have to be willing participants. It's got to be everybody involved has to say yes. If the money is right, the fight will happen. And Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury will prove that. 2 different networks, not just American broadcasters, but English broadcasters. Watch how that fight gets made. And you can't tell me if the money's not right that any fight can't get made. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.